Hello, beautiful people. It's Dee. How you doing? Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about toxic self-care culture. And you're probably wondering, Dee, what is that? Don't worry, I'm going to tell you. So this is a video that is a continuation of my last video, in a way, for National Minority Mental Health Awareness Month. I feel that self-care is often a very big way that people talk about dealing with some of their mental issues, and I feel that demystifying the process and clarifying some of the things that may not actually be as good for you was a great second topic for this. And if you all want to learn any more about mental health in minorities, go ahead and watch that last video. Give it a thumbs up. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoy it. And if you find something that you like. But yeah, let's get to it. So basically, self-care is meant to be any deliberate action that you take to work on your mental, physical, and emotional health. However, it has been blown out of proportion by all of the social media gurus and different corporations and just society in general to kind of push a new narrative. Now, this has been going on for decades. And it's not only with self-care, it's also just like beauty things in general. So this is why people go on different weight loss diets. It's also why people now want their butts big and their skin tanner. It's literally just like different cycles of I almost said communism, not communism, of capitalism. And because of this, people are trying to sell a very specific idea of what self-care is. And I personally believe that that's becoming a bit of a fetishization, I can never say that word, of self-care rather than actually encouraging people to seek out what self-care really is for them. So, as I said, this is a cultural thing that people push to make money, and so they sell all of these different serums and skincare things and masks and spa days. They do massages and all these other things, which, of course, can be great, unless you don't have the money. But then you feel bad that you don't have the money because you want to be feeling like you're taking care of yourself, and the only way that you see people taking care of themselves and treating themselves is by doing all of these crazy expensive things. One, that's not healthy, and two, that's not fair. A lot of people can't afford it, or people will go out of their way to spend money that they don't have, that they should be saving, in order to feel like they're keeping up with the Kardashians and actually taking care of themselves. However, taking care of yourself and self-care can happen in a lot of different ways. I'm going to go into some of the ways that you can combat this toxic self-care culture towards the end of the video. But first, I want to talk a little bit more about why I find this culture of self-care to be so toxic. Another thing, so like I said, treat yourself culture. Treat yourself culture in a way it's good. If you're just having a little conversation with your girls, you're going out and you already planned on having a good time, you'd be like, okay, it's fine, I'm gonna treat myself. And then you feel good about it because you've already planned, if you've planned and set aside that money in advance. However, a lot of people are using it as an excuse to spend money that they really shouldn't be, which puts them in a worse spot. And that's not self-care. That is, in fact, not necessarily self-harm, but it's basically the opposite of what you're trying to achieve, because you're not improving yourself, and you're not going to be improving, you're not improving yourself, and you're not improving the quality of your life by doing that, because typically the things that you have to buy are just little monetary items, and that's not going to necessarily make you feel better, although it might in the moment. And we have a big issue with instant gratification, which is kind of where these self-care companies and corporations are targeting people, right? Right. So another thing, people often talk about treating yourself or doing self-care, and then they will actually use that as a way to procrastinate. Now, obviously, this is not helpful at all, but in a way, it's a pushback to the other toxic culture of hustle. You all know the hustle people. They're the ones who are like always on their grind and doing all of these ridiculous things and saying sleep is for the weak, and just really pushing people to go past their actual like limits and boundaries. And so I believe that self-care culture is a pushback to that. However, it's still just as bad because people end up procrastinating what they need to actually be doing and then putting themselves in a worse situation as they're not bettering their situation by just sitting around and doing nothing, because that's what makes them feel better. And while of course you need to have some breaks and some me time, that's not always what you should be doing, and you have to know the difference. Now, speaking of me time, another big issue that I have with self-care culture is that they typically try and advertise it or sell it as it being exclusively you time, and you're kind of like blocking yourself off from the world around you. And that's fine, especially if you're disconnecting from like social media and the internet and things like that. However, it also encourages you to disconnect from other people. And while of course it is always great to have some time to yourself, this is not how everyone gains their energy. And it can kind of be an issue when you think about the ways that introverts and extroverts actually gain their energy. So for introverts, this typical idea of self-care can be very fulfilling for them because they can feel good about actually blocking everyone out and just enjoying time by themselves, because that's how they get their energy. However, extroverts don't operate the same. They gain their energy by being around people and enjoying others around them. And so for extroverts, they can think that it might not be healthy for them to actually go out and be around people that they enjoy. And that can totally be a way that you are taking care of yourself. So if you're always like working and always trying to get things done, it's really nice to be able to stop and just take time to enjoy the people around you in addition to yourself. So don't ever feel bad or like you're not taking care of yourself because you want to go to a party or because you want to go to some sort of different event. If you're an extrovert, that is definitely a form of self-care for you. And you shouldn't feel like it's not unless you are really starting to feel yourself burn out. Speaking of burnout, this is the last part of the toxic self-care that I'm going to speak of before getting to some of the remedies for it. And that is, oftentimes people will actually use self-care as their last resort when they are burning out or they're about to burn out. And that's also not healthy because a lot of people will push self-care off and use it as this big magical reward, and often because they're looking at the more expensive things that self-care is and it's being marketed and pushed to us. And so they tell themselves that they don't have time to do it, or that they're going to save up money so that they can actually enjoy like a full day or a full week of just nothing but them. And that's not healthy because you should be doing little things to take care of your mental, physical, and emotional and spiritual health every day. And I feel like self-care culture kind of makes you think that you should relegate that all to one day, and that's not true. And so a lot of people end up burning out before they actually get to the acts of self-care that would help them with that. All right, so now some ways that you can actually mitigate this. for my spenders and my treat yourself doers or treat yourselfers. I don't know, whatever y'all want to call yourselves. Save some of the money, put your wallet away, and do it yourself. So there are a lot of really expensive masks and things out there. Now, if you can afford it, go ahead and do it. But if you can't, look for cheaper alternatives or ways to make these items yourself. That can be really helpful. And then also, if you buy items that have multi-purpose uses, then you're not only using it to treat yourself, you're also using it in a way that can benefit you later, such as food or some sort of activity in the future. Also, learning where your energy comes from can help you decide if your self-care is going to be more of a solo thing or if it's going to be a group thing. And obviously you can alternate between the two, but knowing which one makes you feel better will help you be able to better use your time for when you are doing your self-care. And so, lastly, not using self-care as a way to procrastinate or seeing it as a giant reward that you can't do until you finish everything. Self-care should be done in little doses each day. However, of course, it's fine to have an entire day where you are taking care of yourself and just enjoying yourself and other people. However, it should not be seen as a big reward, and it should not be used as a way to procrastinate what you actually need to do, because then you're not getting anywhere. Okay guys, I hope that was helpful. I hope that you were able to learn something. If you all have any self-care tips that you like to do, whether they are the more toxic side or if you found a way to spruce them up, leave a comment below and tell me how you can actually improve or up your self-care by using some of the tips and ideas that I've mentioned here. And yeah, I hope that you will have a wonderful rest of your day, night, and or morning, and make sure you take care of yourself. Bye!